about a couple of things since I logged on at the last minute. Sorry about that. Zoom is getting more complicated as time goes on. So welcome to Thursday evening yoga. You may have noticed if you went through the website that the name of the yoga class has changed. I've renamed it Functional Yoga, but what you're going to find if you've taken my classes before is it's very similar to everything I've ever done. It's just, to be quite honest, I took over Mary's class. Quite a few of you who are logged on, I remember you were with Mary before. She started a peaceful yoga. She's a very peaceful person. Everybody loved it. I didn't just want to leave it by the wayside. So I tried to adapt myself to it, and over time I just feel guilty, like I'm not I'm not delivering peaceful yoga. So instead I'm just going to be more authentic and offer you guys what I feel that I'm best of, and that's functional yoga, or functional in every capacity, not just functionality from a physical standpoint, but psychologically, spiritually. And I feel that for me personally, that's how I find peace. So I am kind of a hyper person with some frenetic energy, and I'm, like I said last week, I will never be that peaceful yoga person, but I do believe that through these functional practices we achieve peace. Then the other thing I wanted to mention is the weather forecast for next week looks very promising. I'm keeping an eye on the lot out back of the studio. It's quite shaded in some areas, and right now it's very soggy from it raining for like a year or whatever it's been. So as that starts to dry out, we're going to start scheduling some outdoor yoga, maybe something else. I have a gnat flying in my face. I'm sorry. So keep on the lookout for that. I'm going to send out lots of notifications to make sure everybody knows, but I'm going to be teaching at least one class. Haley's going to be teaching at least one class. Marcia might start teaching some classes the week after that. So we've got some cool things scheduled. We might schedule a little hike for anybody who wants to come. So keep an eye on your email, Facebook, all that. So we are going to go ahead and start in a standing position. And so with this new embracing of my authentic yoga teaching style, I want to merge two functional exercises at one time. One is a physically functional exercise, and the other is definitely a psychological functional exercise. So, and what we're going to do, we're going to time our breath with a movement, but at the same time, we're really going to focus on how we position our bodies in this movement, because we're going to really start to focus on functional movements in our shoulders. This is one of a couple areas, our shoulders and our hips, that we tend to be very dysfunctional, and we don't move. We find ways to compensate as we round forward. We limit our range of motion. So see what happens, and I promise we'll get to it in a second, but this is important. Especially as we get older, if we sit a lot, we tend to start to round forward. And what this does is it creates an impingement in our rotator cuff, so that where the socket, or where this ball goes into the socket in our shoulder, it can't have that full range of motion, because when we're move forward, in fact, you can physically do this right now. If you'll round forward on purpose and raise your arm up as high as you can feel a difference from when you lift up through your chest and pull your shoulders down and then raise up. You can feel how you're really limited through this area. So we're really going to start to focus on the position of our shoulders and that mobility in the shoulder. And like I said, at the same time, we're going to time this with the breath. So we've got a lot to think about, but what happens is, in addition to helping with our shoulder mobility, it becomes a moving meditation. So you're going to start in mountain pose with your feet about hip distance apart. Get that little soft bend in the knees. We're going to engage these muscles. It's like an upside down, a right side up triangle on our bellies. We've got the point of the triangle at our belly button and the two bottom points at our hip bones. So pull in those three spots, and that just creates a nice solid foundation. And then the root of good posture is not pulling your shoulders back as far as you can. It's just lifting up through the chest. And as you lift up through the chest, you can just feel those shoulders kind of drop back and down just naturally. So that's what we're doing. We're getting solid through the core and we're rolling our shoulders back and down. So we're going to start with just something real simple. As we inhale, keeping our chest in this fixed position, we're going to start to shift our shoulders forward and up to our ears. As we exhale, we're really going to focus on sliding the shoulder blades back and down. So as we inhale, we're going to roll the shoulders forward, pull them all the way up to the ears. It's nice and exaggerated. As we exhale, we pull them back and down, kind of in that funny, awkward, fake, good posture I just talked about. Do this a few more times with your own breath. One more breath. Good. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side just so you guys can really see what I'm doing here. This next one requires a little bit more concentration. We're going to bring our hands to heart center. Keep that lift in the chest and the shoulders naturally pulled back and down. That's going to be really important here. Make sure you still have that soft bend in the knees so you have a nice rooted solid foundation. As you inhale up, you're going to start to slide your arms up. Bring your elbows together. Keep your elbows together as long as you can until you finish the inhale at the top of this movement. Arms drawn close to the ears. Then as you exhale, you're going to try and keep those elbows pointed forward as you drop the hands back behind the head like you're trying to touch between your shoulder blades. And then as you inhale, you're going to press your palms together. And as you exhale, you're going to draw back together. Try and pull the elbows together. Keep them together as long as they can. And bring them back to heart center. So again, chest is lifted. Shoulders are naturally pulled back and down. We're going to inhale up slowly. Draw the elbows together. Keep them together as long as you can. Come to the top of the movement. And then exhale. Keep the arms pulled back. Elbows pointed up. Drop the hands back where you're trying to bring them back behind the shoulder blades. Inhale, press the palms together, reach up overhead, arms draw to the ears. Exhale, start to pull the elbows together. Keep them together as long as you can. And then we wind up right here in prayer. We're going to do this a few times with our own breath. Really focus on a deliberate movement here. So we're going through 2 full breath cycles before our hands come back in prayer at the front of our body. Last round of breath. And then we all meet in mountain pose. So on your next inhale, we're going to keep that lift in the shoulders or the chest, shoulders back and down. Circle back as far as you can. Exhale, let the arms circle all the way down. Try not to cheat yourself so you're not forcing into a painful range of motion, but at the same time, you're making sure you're not cutting corners just because it might not naturally be what you would do. And remember, if the chest is lifted and the shoulder blades are pulled back and down, you're not going to have that impingement that's going to prevent that full rotation. Now, if there's sharp pain, that's a completely different ballgame. If you lift the chest and pull the shoulders back and down and you still feel that pain, then you need to limit your range of motion to where you are right now. Now we're going to go the opposite way. Slow, controlled, reach back, up, And exhale, let the arms slowly come forward. 2 more times. One more. Good. Inhale the arms up overhead. The right hand catches the left wrist. Spine as long as you exhale and reach to the right. Inhale, come up center, switch hands. Exhale to the left. Move with your own breath. Keep going. Spine is long. You should feel a nice stretch on the opposite hip. So don't cheat yourself here by rotating where you're looking to the side. Your whole body should be facing forward. One more time. And then big inhale up. Exhale, we're going to swan dive all the way down. So we're going to hang out here for a couple of breaths and really start to lengthen the back part of the body. So looks like everybody has their camera on. That's awesome. So use your camera, if you can see yourself, to shift your hips forward where they're positioned more over your heels. And you'll notice this drastically changes what the stretch feels like. Don't be afraid to bend into your knees. Then press your heels into the mat. Don't lock out your knees. And then pull in that triangle, those 3 points. Notice how this even changes the stretch. And then walk both hands to the right side. Keep both heels pressed firmly into the mat. Walk center and left. Press the heels. Come back center. Inhale, come up halfway. Soft knees. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Step your right foot in front of your left foot. So see, I'm heel to toe here. Still have that soft bend in the knees. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, swan dive forward. You're probably going to have to bend a little bit more into your knees here. Press both heels into the mat. Inhale, rise up, flat back. Pull out through the crown of the head. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Step the left foot in front of the right foot. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, swan dive down. Soft bend in the knees. Press both heels into the mat. Pull in that triangle. There's 3 muscles around the belly button. It's actually more than 3 muscles, but it's a good visual. Inhale, flat back. Extend out through the crown of the head. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, reverse swan dive up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Come back to this neutral mountain pose. So lift up through the chest again. Keep that soft bend in the knees. And now we're going to start to hinge the hips back. Notice the position of my knees really hasn't changed. It's my hip position that has changed. Now lift up through the chest again, because the first thing we tend to do is this as soon as we come down. But bring your hands to your hips. Sometimes that helps you not hinge forward. Lift up through the chest. Be sassy. Stick out your behind. Press your chest out. Think about what that looks like. Now, see if with your shoulders rolled back and down, if you can extend your arms overhead and not round forward. If you are here, bring your hands to heart center or your waist. And see if maybe you can hinge forward a little bit more. Squeeze in the behind. Keep this engagement in the lower back. That's where we really want to feel this, is in the lower back. And then squeeze the behind, come up halfway. Stay right here. Lift up in the chest a little bit more. Pull in those 3 points around the belly button. Inhale the arms up. Pull the arms down to the midpoint of the body and extend back. Roll the shoulders back and down, hinge forward. See if you can sink the hips back a little bit more. Keep that lift in the chest. We're almost about to go into our forward fold. It's going to feel so good. Inhale, sweep up. And exhale, fold down. Sway side to side. Do whatever feels good. And slide the hands up the shins, look forward, or I'm sorry, don't look forward. Lift out with a flat back, extend out through the crown of the head. We tend to automatically, I have to struggle with it too. We don't want to look forward so much, monkey. We're trying to make our spine as long as we can. And remember, our neck is an extension of our spine. It's part of our spine. So think about what you can do to create as much length as possible. Exhale, fold down and step back into tabletop. So in tabletop, your hands are under your shoulders. Your knees are slightly behind your hips. And in fact, you can put your hands slightly in front of your shoulders. A lot of times that takes strain off of the wrist. We're going to hug in all the muscles around the spine and inhale that right leg back. See if you can rotate that right thigh down a little where it's parallel with the mat. And then notice if you're leaning out into that left hip and see if you can pull it back to center where that left hip is positioned right over the left knee. A lot of times you have to squeeze that left glute to really create that sturdy foundation. And then maybe you want to try bringing that right leg straight out to the side. And then from here, drop that right foot down. Inhale both arms up. And exhale, reach towards that right foot. Inhale up, nice and long with the spine. Fold forward, keep this right leg out. 3 rounds of cat and cow. Inhale, press the chest forward, drop the belly button. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, drop the belly, press the chest forward. Exhale, round. One more. And bring that right leg back to center. Hug in all the muscles around the belly button. Float the left leg up. Check in with that right hip. See if you need to pull that right hip in where it's centered over the right knee. Squeeze the right glute. See if that helps. I have to come to the side here. And then maybe you try bringing that left leg straight out. Big breath here. Squeeze the left glute. And then slowly drop down. Inhale up nice and tall. And exhale, reach towards that left leg. One more big breath here. Inhale up long. And exhale, fold forward into tabletop. This left leg is still out. 3 rounds cat and cow. And bring that left leg back to meet the right leg in tabletop. Curl the toes under. And if this feels okay, if it doesn't, go ahead and shift right back into down dog. But see, to start with, if you can just barely lift those knees up off the mat, where your shins are parallel with the mat. Lift up through the chest a little bit. Roll the shoulders back and down. Pull in all those belly button muscles. And then slowly shift the hips back into down dog.
So let's take a couple breaths in down dog. Fingers are wide, not as wide as you can possibly get them, but they're just creating a sturdy foundation. Press the heels back behind you, like there's something just out of reach behind your heels that you're trying to touch. Press the belly towards the thighs and see how flat you can get that back. That's what we're really going through for here. Relax the neck, let the head drop long between the arms. Couple of deep breaths. And on your next inhale, step the right foot in between both hands. Okay, we're gonna spin and drop this left foot so that the left toes are pointed to the front left corner of the mat. We're setting up for Warrior One. So to come into Warrior One, if you struggle with balance or core strength, walk your hands up your right leg. Otherwise, get solid through all those trunk muscles, squeeze the right glute, and come up into Warrior One. So here's another example. If you're here and you can't get here, if you can't get open, bring your hands to your hips, even kind of into your lower back, and press into your lower back to help anchor your shoulders back and down. This is going to get you open. This is going to exacerbate issues and create more immobility. It could create some kind of injury. So yeah, just get nice and open from the chest. Get nice and strong in the core and start to lean forward. Hover over this right thigh. Don't rest on it. Engage this right glute even more. And squeeze into that right glute to come up and lift and lower this back heel. This little movement can actually really help with hip mobility. So really press into that heel as you drop it down. You should feel a nice opener in that left hip. Good, big inhale up, exhale, fold down. So now, we're gonna position this right foot to the outside of the right hand, and you can do this a couple different ways. You can just get down on your left knee and step it to the outside, or if you want a little bit more core work here, then inhale that right leg back into a plank, and then exhale, step it to the outside of the right foot. You can come down on the left knee if you want to and make this more of a hip opener, and that's an excellent way to do this. Or you can stay up on this back leg and open up on the right side for a nice rotation. And breathe. One more breath here. And then bring that right hand back to the inside of the right foot. Go ahead. If you're up on that left knee, go ahead and come down. And then we're going to stay here just for a couple of breaths to get a little bit more into this left hip. You can either stay here, or if you want to drop down into lizard. If you haven't moved a lot today, if you don't have a ton of hip mobility, you might not want to be all the way down on your forearms. You may want to stay up on your hands. We're going to stay here for about 2 more breaths. So if you're down on your forearms, inhale, come back up on both hands. Curl the back toes under and step back into plank. You can always do plank on your knees. Plank is one of the fundamental exercises that we all should be doing some variation of. Lift up through the chest, pull in the belly muscles, and then drop to your knees if you need to, slowly lower to the ground. Bring the hands to either side of the chest. Press the tops of the feet into the mat firmly. Inhale, press up through the chest, roll the shoulders back and down. Very little pressure in the hands and arms. You should feel this in the lower back in a good way. Well, and like you're working. One more breath here. And slowly lower down. Press up into plank and back into down dog. Couple breaths in down dog. As always, remember, in every yoga practice everywhere, there is always an open invitation to child's pose. You can always go into child's pose. This is your practice. One more breath here. Really push everything out. And inhale, step the left foot between the hands. Go ahead and set up for warrior one. So you're going to spin and drop the right foot. The right toes are pointed to the front right corner of the mat. You can either walk your hands up your legs or get nice and solid in your core. Engage that left glute and rise all the way up. Remember, if you're not open here, you're here. You're pressing into the lower back. You're honoring your body by working with it where it is right now. And start to hinge forward. Hover over that thigh. So we're not lying on that thigh. We don't have a rounded back. So the only other option is that our core is engaged and this left glute is engaged. You should feel a nice stretch on the right back of the right leg. Press into that left heel to come up. If you feel open enough, bring the arms up overhead and lift and lower the right heel. Really press into that right heel as you drop down. It's a slow, methodical movement. It should feel almost like a massage in your right hip. A couple more. And stay here. And exhale, fold down. Now remember, you can always drop down on that back knee and just step your left foot to the outside of the left hand, or step back into a one-legged plank, left leg up, and then step that left leg to the outside of the left hand. Feel free to come down on that right knee or stay up and inhale that left arm up. It's all in what kind of practice you want here. You may want a more gentle practice or something that focuses a little bit more on mobility, a little bit less on the grit, on the hard work. One more breath here. Exhale, bring that left hand down. If you've got that, if you got the right knee up, go ahead and drop it down. You're either going to stay right here, maybe walk that left foot out a little bit, or you can drop down on the forearms for lizard. Two more breaths here. Inhale, rise up on both hands if you're not there already. Curl the right toes under to lift up. Step back into plank. Sit up in your plank for a second. Remembering you can always be on your knees. Lift up through your chest, engage all those muscles. We're trying to strengthen those muscles that support our spine and our organs. And then slowly lower down. We're going to come into Sphinx one more time. Hands on either side of the chest. Shoulders pulled back and down, elbows pointed straight back. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Inhale, press the chest up and forward. Breathe. Remembering most of the work is coming from the lower back, not the hands and the arms. Sometimes it helps to lift the fingers up off the mat. One more breath here. And press all the way back into child's pose. One more breath in child's pose. Inhale, rise up. And we're going to come all the way onto our backs. So we're going to start on our backs with our knees pulled into our chest. Flex your feet. And just really deliberately, before you lift your head or your shoulders or anything, we're going to go ahead and start to engage our foundation here. And our foundation, our core is really our foundation for basically everything. But in this case, it's going to be literally our foundation because it's what's on the floor. But what we're going to do is we're going to engage all of these muscles around the pelvis to really start to lift that tailbone up. We've got our knees pulled in, so obviously it's already lifted up a little bit, but engage all the muscles you could that would make you envision that you're curling that tailbone up just a little bit more. So think about what that would feel like. So you're kind of hollowing out the belly. And then press as much of your back into the mat as you can. Cover as much real estate as you can. Like almost envision like all those little areas that aren't even touching the mat that you're trying to push down some extra meat onto the mat. So you've got this nice solid foundation. And then really see if you can maintain all of that foundation as you lift your head and your shoulders towards your knees. And then maybe see if you can extend both legs into the air and bring your arms to your sides. Now, for a lot of us, this is exactly where we're going to stay, because once we start moving our legs and like making stuff happen in our hips, our spines are going to get destabilized, and that's when we're prone to injury. So if you really feel this, if you're shaking right here, this is where you need to stay, I promise you. But if you are just feeling like this is not enough of a challenge, then you're going to start to slowly lower your legs a little bit. If you're somewhere in between, you can bend your legs, but keep that foundation. Keep that belly scooped out. And then inhale, point your both hands towards the ceiling, and exhale, reach both hands towards the left. Keep that solid foundation. So the right side of your body is going to want to pop up a little bit. See if you can smush it back down just a little bit. And inhale, come up to center. Exhale, come to the right. Same thing, push that left side back down. Get nice and solid. Inhale, come up, feet stay together, open the knees wide, and then inhale, press flexed hands up towards the wall in front of you. Scoop out the belly. Deep breaths, we're almost done. And slowly lower down. Feet flat on the mat, arms pressed firmly into the mat, tilt the pelvis under, lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Knees are hip distance apart. If you want to interlace your hands and walk your shoulders together, that'll give you a little bit more height. Gives you a nice little prop. It almost feels like cheating. And slowly lower down. Okay, let's extend our left leg towards the ceiling. Really flex this left foot. You should feel a nice, good stretch all along this back leg. Now, when we're in this passive stretch, this is one of the only times you actually can lock out the knee if you can get that far. You might not be able to. What's most important here is that you flex that foot. So even if you've got to have that leg bend a little bit, that's okay. You're better off to be there. So when you flex the foot, you get into these calf muscles, which sometimes we think it's our hamstrings that are tight, and it ends up being our calf muscles. So this is a good way to make sure you're not cutting corners, stretching something that's already been stretched sufficiently. And then just start to rotate that foot one way and the other. It's not going to rotate as far when you turn it inside, but what you're trying to do, you're not just rotating the foot, you're turning in the ankle a little bit, but you're also rotating the leg in this hip joint. And then rotate the foot and hip open, keep it right there, and drop that left ankle down on the right knee and just gently press into that left thigh. And just kind of press deep and then let off a little bit and press. So it's not a bounce, but you're just kind of nudging it deeper into a stretch or coming out of it a little bit. And what, yoga does so many things, but one thing we all tend to gravitate towards is hip health, because if we were living in a natural way, like before modern society with flat sidewalks and lots of seats everywhere in our cars and our homes and our offices, we weren't just moving in these linear flat fashions. We were moving our hip joint around in all these different ways. We were walking across uneven ground and bending and stepping up and stepping down. And so we have to compensate. We have to make sure we're moving our hip in every direction. Now hold that left knee open and squeeze that left glute. And notice how that opens that left hip a little bit more. And then just very gently rock that right knee side to side. And slowly release that right foot down, left leg extends out. So flex the left foot, really pull up, not left foot, right foot, other left foot. Flex the right foot, pull the toes down towards the body, try and press that heel up towards the ceiling. So again, you're not just stretching your hamstrings, you're stretching your calf muscle. And then just start to rotate the ankle and the hip in and out. So we're trying to find all these different ways to move our hips. Okay, next time your right leg opens up, keep it open, drop that right ankle down on the left foot, and then start to nudge. Using the right hand, you're gonna nudge that right knee open. Relax it for a second, nudge it open. Keep going. You'll also notice we spend more time stretching our hips than we tend to spend stretching other things, because our hips are these really big, stubborn muscles that sometimes need some extra time to really release. And another thing we can do to assist this is make sure we're breathing deeply. And then press that right hip open into a static stretch. Squeeze the right glute. And if you notice a significant stretch, like that you significantly stretch a lot more when you squeeze the right glute, pay attention to that. We'll all notice somewhat of a stretch, but if you notice a huge difference where it feels like it really opens up, that almost definitely means you need to strengthen your glutes more, especially if you struggle with hip pain. A lot of times we can't unlock our hips until our glutes are nice and strong and solid. So pay attention to things like that. Our bodies give us all kinds of clues. And slowly release. We're going to bring our right foot to our right hand, left foot to our left hand, and open up into happy baby. See if you can pull into your feet a little bit more to get your knees nudged a little closer to the ground. Remember, we're going for wide knees, wide feet here. Even if we've got to grab our knees like behind our legs instead of at our feet. And slowly release down. Make your way into your final relaxation. If there's any final poses that you'd like to do first, maybe another twist or just anything, this is your practice. Do what you need to do to prepare for Shavasana. And once you get there, let's just turn our attention back to our breath. That's the one thing that connects us in every way. It connects us through each pose. It connects us as living creatures. We all have to breathe. We're all breathing the same air. It all comes back to the breath. Allow your awareness to float over your body and gently scan for any points of tension, maybe around your eyebrows, your jaw, your chest, your belly, your throat. Just see if you can release them just a little. Don't force them. See if you can let a little something melt away. Tune into all your senses. Feel the weight of your body on your mat. Listen to any sounds in your surroundings. Any sensations against your skin. And finally, tune into your thoughts. What are your thoughts in this moment? Again, without judgment, just be the observer. And whatever your thoughts are, see if you can find a corresponding feeling in your body. Our emotions almost always have a physical manifestation somewhere in our bodies if we'll pay attention. If we have a lightness of heart, we may feel that in our hearts, in our throats. If we have an anxiety, we may feel that in our bellies, in our shoulders, our eyebrows. Sometimes just tuning into the physical sensation of our emotions is just another way to kind of acknowledge that human condition and connect a little bit more with our higher selves. Before you start any movement, take a deep breath in, expand all the way around your diaphragm, and then press every last ounce of air out of your lungs. Again, deep breath. And perhaps you want to reach your arms overhead and stretch your feet long in the opposite direction. Begin to move in any way that feels right. Perhaps you'd like to pull your knees into your chest and rock side to side, or maybe come all the way over onto your side and rest for a couple of breaths before coming all the way up into a seated position. And let's just take a couple deep breaths here as we set our intention on the rest of our evenings, on the weekend to come. Not our to-do list, but how we want to approach this time with purpose, with love and grace, not just for others, but most importantly, beginning with ourselves. It's where all of this has to begin, within ourselves, or we have nothing else to give. One more deep breath. With that, we bring our hands to heart center. And I thank you guys for sharing your practice with me. Namaste. Have a great evening. Remember, this weekend we're having Saturday 10 a.m. yoga, just for something different. And Monday morning, I'm starting my 8 a.m. Monday morning wake-up call. It's probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, and it's basically what I do every morning. And this first one especially, I'm really gonna show you guys the routine I do every morning to wake up my metabolism, to get mobility in my joints, and then from there I'll add some variation just so it's not the same exact thing. But I hope you guys like it. If enough people tune in, I'll start doing it more mornings. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll have outdoor stuff next week, so hopefully I'll see your